That's how Noah felt this year, or is feeling this year.
That's how everybody at the games this year
Everyone's
is feeling.
this
They're
year.
like, Fraser's not in.
Matt's not here.
There's a
Thank
chance.
God. Full of people kept asking me about it, and they're like, "I've actually listened to an episode." I'm like, "Hey, awesome, thanks."
Thank you
Yeah,
for listening to one.
yeah, appreciate that.
How are you doing, by the way?
Man, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
long week.
long month so far. Well, long last month and then long this month. It's just like it's summer season, so pools. Everybody wants a fucking pool, and they want it next week. And it's like, dude, like, it's not how it works.
You think people would have planned a little bit ahead? And they're like, "Hey,
Right.
summer's coming up.
Yeah.
Should we get a pool?"
And then even though the ones that did plan ahead, they're stuck in the city or they're stuck in the county, and it's like there's nothing I can do. I can't force these guys to give us permits. I can't force these guys to make them work faster.
Work faster.
Yeah, work faster for me specifically, so my clients stop yelling at me. Yeah, I'm drained, man. And then getting up early to coach, and then doing a 10-hour day or an 8-hour day even is just
Really?
it's exhausting. My allergies are kicking my ass.
What are you allergic to?
Pollen, dust.
All right.
Yeah, the atmosphere.
Have you ever gotten one of those?
Sneezing fits.
No.
Oh.
I mean, yes, but more so. Have you ever gotten like an allergy test before?
No, I've never gotten the pricks.
Well, no, you shouldn't, because it's terrible.
There's what, like they stab you with like 100 needles?
No, well, I guess it depends. The one that I had was so they did a bunch of little like pricks down, like up and down both arms.
Yeah.
And then they just dropped like an allergen into it, into like an open wound, and they're like, let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it when I was young. Like, I was pretty young. And I remember, like, just both of my arms
Swelling.
Almost immediately swelling up, and it being, like, super itchy. It burned. And I remember, like, I'm sure my mom will let me know.
Yeah.
But that I remember being, like, distraught. Just be like, please let me wipe this off. And they're like, no, you have to wait. I'm like, all of it hurts. Like,
Oh my
it's so
God.
obvious that I'm allergic to everything. Can we please stop this now?
And you know what I find hard to believe about that is like, so like they get like there's like a droplet on an open wound, right? Like, who's to say there's no cross contamination into the next wound? It's like, that doesn't work.
From what I remember, it was pretty. They weren't like really close to each other.
Oh.
So like it wasn't going to like drip over into the other one.
Wouldn't contaminate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you right now, like, I'm allergic to melons. Like, so watermelon gives me an allergic reaction in my throat. Honeydews and cantaloupes to the touch. Like, if I touch their shells, because it's got like this weird dust on top of it. Like it'll make my hands itchy or make or wherever part of it touches my skin, it immediately makes it itchy.
Huh. What is it in melons that are?
I have no idea, because I would
to.
imagine they're 90% water. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fibers. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. But I could literally eat every other fruit. Oh, like, let's see. I don't think I'm allergic to any other fruit.
That's so interesting.
I had a weird allergy to bananas when I was younger. So I'd eat a banana and it would make my throat kind of swell but very itchy. And now I can eat bananas, I'm fine, but I can't have melon.
You're the only person I've ever
That's what
heard
I hear.
of having a melon
Yeah,
allergy.
that's what I hear. Is like they're like, how are you allergic to melons? It's like 90% water. I'm like, I have no idea. Not a clue.
How rare is melon?
I can tell you right now, I'm 1 in a million, baby.
Is it?
No, I am.
Oh, well, we all knew that without the whole melon. And the Mayo Clinic estimates food allergies. Oh, that's just
Not food allergies, melon allergies. What else am I allergic to? I can't roll around in grass. Makes my skin itchy. Sucked playing soccer, finding that out the hard way because I really love to play soccer. No medicines as of yet, thankfully.
I don't think I'm allergic to any medicine. We used to think that I was that I was allergic to something when I was younger, but what we learned was that the doctor gave me like, I was like maybe 5th grade, and I remember we were in gym climbing the rope, and then like rope climb day.
Yeah.
So excited. And then all of a sudden I just remember like getting this like cramp in my stomach. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, just, you run around playing really hard, and sometimes you get that like little stomach cramp, like diaphragm cramp.
Man, ouch.
But then it was like worse and worse.
Oh shit.
And then it got to a point where I had to like lay down because I was like,
in that much pain?
It hurt so bad.
Damn.
And so I was like, well, apparently I'm allergic to something that the doctor gave me. But this was like around, if I remember correctly, this was roughly around the same time that I did my allergy test. Long story short, I'm allergic to everything that exists outside.
Oh, nice.
And then the doctor gave me like the adult dose of whatever medicine that I was taking.
Yeah.
And so it just like royally screwed me up.
Your body was like, we can't handle.
Yeah, it's like too much.
We need to get rid of it.
And it ruined rope climb day for me.
Fuck,
it was like one of my
so
favorite days.
Terrible.
Mostly because we had those like really, really thick like crash pads.
Oh, the big blue ones?
Yeah, the ones that like you have to like climb on top of. Yeah. And so we would always like, we're just like, well, obviously we're going to go down like halfway of the rope, and then we're just going to fall.
Just drop, yeah.
Yeah.
Those
you
things
just like
were
land on it.
2 feet thick.
Yeah, they were probably more than that.
Yeah. Those are big.
Yeah, it was the best.
They're fun to jump on.
So that was the only like rough, or the only like, I'm fairly confident I'm not allergic to anything else other than just environmental.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, so weird fact. I'm allergic to raw nuts. So like raw peanuts, raw cashews, raw almonds, raw walnuts. Like I can't eat them raw. They also make my throat swell up. But if they're roasted or salted, candy, like it's just gonna sound like I just like the fatty, sugary, salty shit. But no, like I have tried eating raw almonds, like for like dietary things, like trying to lose weight, trying to make healthier snacks, and they make my throat swell, and I can't do it.
Huh?
Yeah.
I know that like that makes sense, right? You hear about that where like raw nuts will be something that like people have an allergy to, where like with like almonds you have to like soak them, right? Because I forget what it is. There's like some sort of like general toxin that exists on some nuts, if I'm remembering this correctly. So like when you like soak them or you roast them or whatever, that like breaks it down to make it non-allergenic. I might be making that up. I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, I would believe it because obviously, like, I can have roasted and salted things versus raw. Like, I kid you not, I if we did it right now, I ate a raw almond, I'd be like, dude, I can't, like, my throat is itchy. That's it.
Just doing like,
I'd be like, the whole night.
All right. Case duly noted.
Yeah.
So, no melons, no almonds,
no raw
nuts.
Yeah.
And
no grass.
Yeah. Speaking of grass.
Yeah.
So I was like, at some point in time, we're going to have a good segue.
That's right.
Eric, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about blazing.
About that devil's lettuce.
That nice ganja.
That sticky icky.
That ooh-wee.
The 420 blaze in it.
Just blaze?
Just smoking some fat doinks.
Did we say sticky icky?
I said sticky icky.
You said sticky icky? What else is there? That purple kush.
I feel like that's just a general name.
That is probably a general name. What else is there?
We should have looked this up.
Yeah, fuck.
Weed,
well, I mean,
pot.
Having known people in the game, not ourselves, we should be well knowledged on this.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's the side effect of being well knowledged, is we forgot.
Yeah, we got too antiquated. We forget. No, yeah, we're gonna talk about weed.
Yeah,
and specifically since it's kind of a little bit of a hot topic at the moment.
It's definitely a hot topic,
and it's would you say this topic is blazing?
I would say it is on fire, and it should be passed to the left.
Always,
and
don't chong it.
Yeah, don't bogart that.
But talking about Sha'Carri.
Yeah.
Damn it, we just listened to it too.
Fuck.
Yeah. It's fine, I can cut it out.
Sha'Carri
Richardson.
Is it Richards or Richardson?
I think it's Richardson.
See, I fucked up the last name. You fucked up the first name.
You know what?
Let's make sure we get this right.
It's Richardson.
It's Richardson.
It's
Okay.
Richardson.
Okay. Yeah, Sha'Carri Richardson.
We do our research here.
Yeah. We fact check everything.
Everything.
Even ourselves.
But so for those that don't know, Sha'Carri.
Kari.
Damn it, I did it again. Sorry, it's so Sha'Carri. Fuck. Sha'Carri Richardson was a U.S.
Is a U.S. Olympic trials athlete.
I was gonna say Olympic hopeful.
Yes.
Was a U.S. Olympic hopeful.
Yes, that's fair to say.
Who did technically qualify for the 400 or for the 4x100 relay.
4x1 and the
I think the 100
meter dash, yeah.
In
which she crushed at the trials.
Yeah, which she won. Like America's fastest woman.
Crushed. Like not one, like souls behind her were leaving the stadium while she crossed the finish line.
They gave up.
Yeah. I think it was the next closest one was 2 seconds behind her.
No.
Wasn't it?
I didn't look up the times. I've just been more interested in the story.
I'm pretty sure she crushed the next person.
2 seconds is a huge,
that's what I'm saying.
That's a huge amount of time.
Okay. Let me fact check before somebody comes at me.
I think I keep saying Sha'Carri
because you want to say Shakira.
Because I want to say Shakira. Sha'Carri, if you're listening to this,
10.64 seconds.
There's no way these
probably not 12.
Running at 12
probably not
second.
12. You're right.
I mean, the thing is with like at that speed, like it's she had a phenomenal lead. So even like half a second comes across as like a huge lead if you're looking at it from a race standpoint.
Oh, sorry. So I was 3 body lengths. Not 2 seconds, but 3 body lengths, which is 0.13 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
especially at the highest level, you're looking at tenths, 20ths of a second are like gigantic leads.
Yeah.
When we're looking at all of these things.
She
real fast. So, qualified for the Olympics. Then she had a drug test come back where she tested positive for marijuana, which is a banned substance according to the IOC. Therefore, a suspension came down on her, which was a 1-month suspension. Now, given that the trials were not too long ago, the test came back fairly recently, and that 1-month suspension goes almost directly up to the race.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the tricky situation about this whole thing is, well, not tricky, but one of the biggest issues with it is the argument is, should she still have been able to race? And given that her crime, I guess, was smoking weed. Now, where she was located at was in Oregon, which is state legal for recreational use. So it's not like she was breaking a state law when she was doing this.
Right.
And then on top of that, they were also telling about, the rationale as to why she was smoking was because of the passing of her mother.
Right. Dealing with grief. Yeah.
So there's I think there's 2 different arguments or conversations to be had here. And I think the first that we're kind of touching on is the legalities of, or the ruling of weed.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Obviously, weed in the United States on a state level, for the most part, I think 15 states already have legalized it.
Something like that.
Right. So here, when an athlete gets busted for weed, busted in quotes, right? Like, we look at it as like, oh, it's just a little bit of weed, like no big deal, right? However, like you said, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, still does not allow any controlled substance, any substance to be abused or used in their athletes, especially pre-games. Like, it's not the fact that it's just weed. Like, oh, it's a little bit of weed, it's harmless, right? It's in the rule book. Like, you cannot do it. You cannot do anything. I mean, I think even caffeine's in there, right? Like,
I I think so.
Yeah,
I think
because like NCAA athletes are not allowed to have caffeine throughout their season. Like they get tested for caffeine. Like it's in the rules. Like I would love to see the fastest woman on the planet, especially from the U.S., compete at the Olympic Games and crush souls internationally. There's nothing more that I would rather see than the U.S. taking another gold. However, despite it being a little bit of weed, it is still in the rule books that you cannot use it. And she kind of earned that disqualification.
I think it's a trick. I think this is a super weird and kind of tricky conversation to be had because I'm torn between the two, where on one hand, you want to say like those are the rules, right? In that video that we were watching earlier, like you even had Joe Biden be like, the rules are the rules. Yeah, he's like, I don't agree with the rules, right? But that's what they are,
and neither do I.
Same, right? I think it's fair. I think it's fair that we would both agree on the idea that like let's we should pump the brakes a little bit on some of these things. But I do agree with you on one hand where I'm like, yeah, these are the rules. Like it sucks. And it sucks that that's the case, that she, she's in this situation because same, just like you, like she's one of, if not the best, like sprinters in like female sprinters in the world. Yeah. So yes. And she represents America, like the US. Yeah. Of course I would want her to be a part of that, to like take that home for everybody, or for us and for herself too. Like it's crazy, right? It's insane how fast she is. Yeah. Like as a side note, I saw this thing online that was, they were trying to start this petition to put a regular person to have a regular person do every event of the Olympics, so that way the world can understand how crazy good these athletes are. Yeah. And I 100% agree with that idea, because I would love to have just like an average guy, or like, well, I guess woman, it doesn't really matter here, but to just be like, all right, we're going to get four girls to run the 400 meter, the 4x100 relay, or the 4x relay, 4x4 relay, whatever. Have them run that and like watch them do it in like 3 minutes, and then have like
an Olympic
the
team.
Olympic team do it in like a minute, and like a minute
10,
right?
minute
like
15,
super fast.
So I would like to see it, but my whole, I guess, stipulation with it is if they allow that, those participants cannot be deemed Olympians or Olympic athletes, because that would piss me off, because that is a title is earned. It is not is not given.
It'd be do you remember the show Pros vs. Joes?
Yes.
I want it to be something like that.
Yes.
Right, where it's just like, hey, here's an average Joe or Jane that's going to do this race. Like, I want to watch the person do the shot put and throw it like 7 feet.
Yeah, and then watch
somebody else throw it like 30.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, here's the downside to that, right? Like, if you're Joe, you can say, well, I competed at the Olympics.
Well, you didn't compete.
Right.
That's the thing, though.
But you're still going to get that like push for like, well, I was there and I did it as the average Joe. So that makes me right. No, but that's what I'm saying. That's the argument on their side, is like, which is what I don't even want to have. I don't even want to have that conversation, because I would be pissed and I would punch somebody in the face and be like, you're trying to take a title from somebody who's fucking earned it when you were asked to fucking volunteer, because you're not an athlete.
Because you're average.
You're a fucking Joe. You're a fucking average Joe. You don't do shit. Like, no, I will not have that conversation.
That's fair. We got to like...
It has to be written down somewhere, and they have to acknowledge, like, a fucking sign an NDA for their life that they cannot call themselves a fucking Olympic athlete.
In their contract?
Yes, ever. Otherwise, I'm fucking punching somebody.
Well, because also they're not competing.
Right.
Right? So there's no competition to be had. Like, they're just showcasing that they suck comparatively.
But here's the downside to that, right? Does that then make the Olympics a fucking joke? Because, like, oh, now we have a joke segment where we're going to show you a bunch of randos trying to put this together as fast as possible.
No, I don't think it would devalue the Olympics. I think, right, because how many armchair experts do we know?
Us.
That that will that will sit by like keyboard warrior, like, oh, I can do that. That looks easy, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the case may be.
Mind you, they have the 400-pound chair and they can't really get up.
Yeah. Right. So from like just Instagram, right?
Yeah.
From like just a purely exercise standpoint, like, so I don't think it necessarily devalues it, but I think knowing that the world, sometimes when we're at like upper limits of like athleticism, it's really hard to conceptualize. And so like you say, for Sha'Carri, God damn it. I even thought about it before I said it. Fuck. Sha'Carri. Every time, like with her running, you would say like, would she run in 12 seconds?
10.63.
Yeah, 10.63. So to say like a 10 second like sprint.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people can say, well, I can run. In their mind, they'll go, well, I can sprint for 10 seconds. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you could sprint for 10 seconds.
But could you get to that 100 meters in 10
But you
seconds?
can't sprint 100 meters in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to be fucking tired before you even get to the end of that.
For those of you CrossFitters listening, right? Your average 100 that we've seen on a daily basis is about 30 seconds.
Yes.
Granted, it is a down and back, but still, you're still not making that 10 seconds.
We don't generally sprint in CrossFit.
Also
either. That almost never happens.
Also that.
Everyone's going to pull a hamstring.
Yeah.
Besides the point. So, but like, so the other part too is like when you're at the top of athleticism, like things look easy.
Yes.
Right?
They make it look easy.
Yes, because their skill and their ability is so high that it looks flawless.
Yeah.
Right? It looks simple. Right? You watch a pole vaulter do 19 feet.
Dude, they look so immaculate doing. They float. It's just like, how do you do that?
Yeah. You watch track apparently.
Yeah.
Right. But then you look at any of the other ones.
Swimming.
People are like, I know how to swim.
Yeah.
Like, sure.
Yeah, sure.
But
you
like,
do.
if you've never competed in swimming, you don't have any relation to like what these things mean.
Diving.
Diving is a perfect
Diving
one.
is insane to watch. I have never, but like, I've never done it competitively, but I am in awe watching it because I know it takes so much technical skill to contort your body into the position and then make the dive in the right form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're belly flop, back flop.
I told somebody that I was a diver, and they were asking, they're like, it was a client of mine. They're like, well, how hard is it? And I'm like, it's really hard. I'm like, it's wildly difficult to get all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they asked, they're like, so how, like, so you just have to, like, when you're getting into, like, when you're going to dive in to hit the water, I'm like, you just have to go ahead.
I love that you just have to. Like, people who don't know, they start off their conversation with, oh, so you just have to. It's like, oh, yeah, it's that easy.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, you just, and so I don't remember who it was, but anyway, they were like, so you just have to, just hit the water straight, right? And I was like, oh no, it's not. It's nothing like that. And so for anyone that's interested, I guess here we'll do a quick deep dive into how diving works. So this person was under the impression that you dive in similar to how you would dive in for like swimming, where it's like hand over hand. Mm-hmm. In reality, that's not the case. So if you were to think of like putting your palm out, and like your palm out, you grab onto your fingers and then you kind of push out. So that way, one hand's grabbing your finger, all your entire fingers, and you're pushing out so it's nice and flat. That's how you enter the water. So I was like, and they were like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, there's a kind of science behind it. I'm like, so when you hit the water with that flat hand, you're essentially pushing the water down. So you're creating this big air bubble. And I'm like, and your goal is to try and move through that air bubble. And they're like, okay. And then like, that's it. I'm like, oh no. So then once you get underneath the water at a certain, and you have to time it right. So that way what you do is you do a pike, which is where you just bend in half. And when you bend in half, you open up your legs. So that way you pop the bubble underneath the water. And I'm like, and then that's why you see all of like the bubbles just kind of come up. And they were like, really? I'm like, uh-huh. I'm like, and then there's a way to do it going backwards too, if you're ever diving in backwards. And they were like, that seems like a lot more than I thought. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, now think about that from diving. Now you're hitting the water from 20, sometimes 34 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
I'm like, and spinning and
I was
rotating.
gonna say, and that's just hitting the water. That's not doing the turns and the flips to earn the score in the process of diving.
Yeah.
Like you have to control your body so much. Once you leave and then gravity takes over, you have to be able to contort and then land. Like, yeah, it's more than just hitting the water.
Right. And then they asked too, because they're like, well, how do you initiate a twist? And so they reference it similar to how like gymnasts would twist. And I was like, it doesn't work like gymnasts. I was like, because gymnasts use their legs. I'm like, and they do similar to like what like an ice skater will do when they just pull it in, pull their arms in super tight.
Yeah.
I was like, but they leave the floor going into a twist.
Yeah.
I'm like, whereas with diving, you have to initiate a twist. And I was like, so you have to do this kind of crazy arm movement and like this, spin around your head. I was like, and that's how you have to initiate it in the air where you have nothing but your arms are the things that actually control your spin and then stop you from spinning.
Yeah. You become your own airplane.
Yeah. And they were like, really? And I'm like, uh-huh. And so they were like, long story short, but then they were asking about like, what's your favorite dive? And I was explaining it and they're like, what does that look like? And I was like, well, where you flip, like the way they have to do this is you flip, like 1.5 times, then you open up and then you spin 2 times. And then you do another pike and then you flip over another like 3/4 of a turn and then dive in. And they're like, all of that? I'm like, uh-huh. Like that was my favorite dive.
How do they, so the score is from the difficulty of the dive, right?
Mm-hmm.
What, do they record anything after you've hit the water? Like when you said, when you hit the water and then you pike and turn back up, is there a score? Like, cause in gymnastics, they have the stick of landing. Mm-hmm. Is there a score for coming out of a dive or entering the water properly and then turning out?
No.
Oh,
the underwater stuff is irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
Usually, so because it's the judge is scoring it, there's ways to cheat the entry in a way to, now it's harder, right? As people, at that level, the judges have a pretty keen eye. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the idea of when you hit the water and you're able to, it's called like a rip. Which you can hear it too when like you can hear the good dive happen. But you can kind of cheat the eye of the judge. So in a sense where if they maybe missed something or slightly missed it, but they saw like the end result of like no splash, clean entry, you could sway a judge potentially. Mm-hmm. But so the difficulty of the dive is all based on however many aspects of it are.
Right.
So we're looking at, whatever how many flips, rotations, depending on which direction you're going, whether it's like backwards, inwards, reverse, or gainer, depending on where you're at in the country. And
then, like you said too, like you can get not deducted points or negative points, but like a judge will score you based on the splash, right? Like you're supposed to have very little splash.
Yeah, the splash is more indicative of your entry point.
Okay.
Right. So we're looking at ideally you're looking at a vertical entry. But then the rest of it is all about like technique, right? So you look at, just like in gymnastics, right? How tight your body is, positions as you're twisting, do your, especially when you're doing like big twists, do your feet come apart? When you are coming out of a twist and you're going back into, say, like any flipping, at what point do you do it? So it's style points.
Yeah.
And that's effectively what gets judged. And then it's 5 judges. They take the highest and the lowest score. God, I've been out of this for way too long. And then they take that, then they take the average, or they take the total multiplied by your whatever the difficulty of the dive is, and then that's your score across 11 dives.
Did you ever do Olympic trials for diving?
Oh God, no. I was never that good. Oh. Thank you for thinking that, though. I did some diving with Olympians, which is pretty cool.
That'll work.
But other than that, no, I was never good. I was never good enough to even come close to that level of competition. Yeah, I was just okay.
Oh, okay.
So
it's all right.
That's all right.
It's all right.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I learned how to dive off of a 10 meter. That was pretty cool.
Shit, I'm still afraid to jump off a 10 meter.
It's wild.
I did it.
You gotta do it.
I did it once. No, I did the tallest one at the Rose Bowl.
That's a 7 meter.
The tallest one?
Yeah.
The one you got to climb the fucking ladder and go all the way. Like, that's only 7 meters?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That scared the shit out of me, and I left my arms open, so I splatted my arms.
You pencil dive that, you fool.
No, I know I tried to, but then like I got like the jitters and I like threw my arms out and fuck, that hurt. And I was like, I'm never going back up there.
Yeah.
I jumped off the 10-foot one after that, but not the 10 or 7 meter one.
The 3 meter.
Yeah.
3 meters like the high dive.
Yeah, fuck, man.
So yeah, it goes 1. So from
my favorite's the 1 meter then.
Yeah, the 1 is the one that's about 3 feet off the floor.
Yeah.
So it goes 1 meter, 3 meters like in the diving board. And then depending on like the wherever the location is, like the pool, I guess.
Yeah.
You'll sometimes see like 1 meter platform, 3, 5, 7, 10.
Damn. Now I'm convinced I was at 10 meters.
It's been a little while since I've been at the Rose Bowl, but I'm fairly confident that it's
Don't take this away from me, Ryan.
I'm fairly confident it's a 7
Don't
meter.
take this away from me.
So you gotta be. The problem is like when you start getting that high, you gotta be careful because you're hitting the water really fast.
Oh, I know.
I forget what the speed is.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's like 16 miles an hour or something like that.
Felt how fast that shit was. That shit hurt.
It's especially off the 10. It's really weird because you kind of jump and it's like quiet, and then like as you start falling, then you start to hear the rush of the wind. It's like, shh.
Oh no, I heard the shit out of it. I think that's what scared me. 10 meters at the Rose Bowl.
Oh, it is 10 meters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'll never do that shit again.
That's staying corrected.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun.
Fuck that.
It's the best. The last time I went, I can't wait. I joined their diving program. Like they have the
Rose Bowls?
Yeah, the Rose Bowl is like an adult diving program, and I was like, oh hell yeah! Like I'm gonna get back into this.
Nice.
And then like, not too long after that, the world shuts down. I was like, god damn it.
Sorry to hear that.
So hopefully we can get back into that. But anyway, way off topic. But what is an episode without that?
Right.
So back.
Still Olympic related.
Yeah, Olympics related. I mean, not me, but
no, yeah, right.
Sport.
Sport.
Side note, can't wait. There's going to be a couple people that I've followed a little bit from the diving world. They're going to be competing, so I'm excited to watch that.
Hell yeah.
Especially from the U.S. But anyway, so God, where were we before we fell off that? Okay, so back in. So yes, I'm torn because on one hand, she did technically break the rules. And I think one of the weird arguments that I've been, or not weird, but one of the arguments that I keep hearing about is that like the legalization of it in the United States.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very narrow-sided view of it because like, yes, she's an athlete within the United States where she was in a state that is legal. But I think the thing that we keep, that people that make this argument kind of keep forgetting is that we're not looking at the state level or the country level. We're looking at the international community.
Right. I agree.
And so from an IOC, right, the International Olympic Committee, and USADA is a works
world
for
organization.
Well, it's the United States Anti-Doping Agency,
right? But
works for the IOC, so they have to hand down the rules.
Yeah.
So from that sense, when we're looking at the international level, like from a legalization standpoint, that's a really tricky one because there's places in this world where you can get put up for like a firing squad for having weed.
You'll get fucking killed,
right?
Just for holding it or even it being in your car.
Just being caught with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, I don't remember the country, but I remember hearing about this country that has like some crazy ass drug rules where like residents of the country were leaving for like literally just drug tourism.
Yeah.
To like go to like Amsterdam and smoke weed. But then I guess when the country found out about that, people were getting drug tested as they were coming back in.
Fuck.
Right? So craziness. I can't remember which one where it was, but like that was a thing that was happening, right? And there's a lot of places that this can't be done.
They're way stricter than the United States.
Yes.
Way stricter.
So, and that's from like a hard government level.
Mm-hmm.
So from like an international standpoint, like we have to play it by what the rules of the world look like.
The majority, right? Like we're an individual competing against 90 other countries.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. From the competition side, I have no idea what the actual like global drug legality looks like. But I have a fairly strong. I feel fairly confident in saying that there's still a large majority of the world doesn't have the level of like legalization that we do.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think that's the bigger part that we have to kind of remember about this is that this is, do I agree with the ruling? No. I think it's kind of stupid.
Right.
Sorry, I'll get into that in a second. But from the international standpoint, we have to keep that in mind because
Yes.
I think the other part too is, I was doing a little bit of research looking at some other things, and like there's places in the world where like steroids are legal.
Right.
Like that's not a classified drug.
That's exactly what I was about to jump into is like, let's say the United States legalizes steroids, right? For literally every other sport, baseball, football, basketball, right? It's still not going to be welcomed in any international competition because no one else is allowed to do it. What are we going to say then? Oh, it's just a little bit of steroids, or everyone else should do it. It's like, no, there is a reason these rules have been established. Do they need a looking at? Sure. But as it goes, they're set in stone for now. Like, you got to follow them.
Yeah.
And you got to take whatever punishment you're going to receive.
And I will say, just in case anyone's listening to this and thinking about like, yeah, it's a little hyperbolic to go to steroids. Weed and steroids not necessarily the same. I agree.
Yeah.
Right. But the point being made is that there are places in the world where say taking testosterone is a fully legal option to be done. So, but from an argument standpoint, you can look at it in the same vein, right? So if something is a banned substance, from a banned substance standpoint, a banned substance is legal in one place, but they still can't take it.
Yeah.
Which leads me into kind of the next part when I'm a little annoyed hearing people talk about the whole like, well, marijuana is not a performance enhancing drug. I disagree with that.
I also disagree.
Now, is it the same level of performance enhancing in like how testosterone would be?
Right.
No,
it's
not.
absolutely not.
But that doesn't mean that you can't have advantages by having it. So when we look at it, what are the things that come to mind when you go, okay, why would weed be a performance enhancing drug?
Well, so my whole thought is like the key word is performance. Your performance is not done until you are done with everything. So that includes the active work you put in and resting.
Bingo.
Like marijuana, like those who have smoked, right? We know that it relaxes us. It helps relax the muscles. It helps us eat if we need to, right? Like it has so many beneficial advantages, for those who are working hard, or even for those who work stressful days, right? You come home, you smoke a little bit of weed, your body relaxes. You mellow out, your mind relaxes. You're able to sleep and recover arguably better than those not smoking weed.
Yeah.
The advantages may be minor, but they're still advantages.
And especially like what we were just talking about with the athletes at the very top of the game, where a tenth of a second can be 3 body lengths away.
Yeah.
That's a very
huge.
small. Well, that's a huge impact,
right?
But a very small difference between first and second place.
Yes.
So and when you're looking at like the highest level of competition, it's literally a game of inches.
Yeah.
And these 1%. And so, yes, exactly, right? Like marijuana is great when we're talking, well, can be great when we're talking about like recovery, right? It relaxes you, it can de-stress. There's pain management that can come along with it. Yep. Like, hell, we've seen CBD has become such a crazy boom. So we're looking at all of the recovery benefits that can come with it. So like, and a lot of like sports, or a lot of athletes will make this comment about like, you have to recover just as hard as you train, right? And so we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at sleep, hydration, like all of these, like any sort of external techniques of things like massage and physical therapy, like these things that can help you out. And so any minor edge that you can get is a performance enhancer.
Exactly.
So again, not to say that it's anything like steroids, but again, it does come back to these like 1%. And if you can get a 1% edge,
you're going to take it. Yeah.
That can make you win.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think the argument that, it's like, it's not performing enhancing. It numbs the senses, blah, blah, blah. It's like, right. Okay. So you're only feeding our side of the argument. Like, again, it helps you relax. It helps you recover. It helps you do so many things that other countries are not allowing their athletes to do because it's still illegal or it's punishable by death.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So the other argument that I've been hearing too that I'm kind of a little weird on is when people go, well, the NFL has like loosened its restrictions on marijuana, or the NBA has loosened its restrictions on marijuana. And I go, cool.
Yeah.
But also, these aren't international things.
It's the United States. Now, the NBA basketball team or the Olympic basketball team for the United States will be tested for marijuana. And if they are popped, they will not be allowed to play because it's an international event.
Maybe.
You think maybe?
And I say, so maybe leads me into the next kind of the other aspect of this argument.
Okay.
Is, and so I had this conversation with a couple people because I wanted to get their opinions on it from a different perspective. And I think, so one of my clients said this, and I thought he explained it way more eloquently than I did. So one of my friends is a sociologist, right? And so from his perspective on it, he talked about it from like a racism standpoint. Mm-hmm. And my client also brought it up from a racism standpoint. And his argument from this was that, so he was saying that there are two separate arguments to be had in this. It was just like the straight up like rule weed thing, but then also largely and probably a little bit of a racism thing. Mm-hmm. What I said to one of my client, I was like, I'm like, that's really hard to prove. He's like, fucking exactly. He's like, exactly. That's the hard thing to prove. So he was like, why? He's like, my bet is that she pissed off the wrong person. And he was like, and I know people are going to be like, yeah, well, there's other black women that are going to compete. And he's like, but look at, like, he's like, just look at her. She's loud. She's got tattoos. She's got colored hair, long nails. He's like, I hate to say this, but she's not the right black person.
Right.
Right. The kind of vanilla one, if you will.
Right.
And I was like sitting there. I'm like, damn, dude. I'm like, I don't know what to say about that. He's like, I can't prove it, obviously. He's like, but I bet you she just probably irked somebody the wrong way. She doesn't hold that like image of this like Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
He's like, and so they said, fuck it. He's like, because like we were saying earlier, what other reason would we not want to have the best athlete go and compete with us?
Right.
And again, this also kind of goes into this, like the previous argument, when this is where I was saying maybe, is because at a certain point, people have the ability to change the rules a little bit. So like if you remember like back with like Michael Phelps, when he like won all the medals and stuff, prior to that, there were these like, or after that, there was like photos coming out of like him Michael partying. Phelps smokes weed and parties, and he's got photos of him with like a bong.
Yeah.
And for how much they talked about him eating like 10,000 calories for like training days and stuff, like they're like, you don't think he smokes a little bit of weed, right? Or the NBA players or the basketball players are gonna be going for the US, like you're gonna be like, you don't smoke a little bit of weed?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So there's this question of like favorability that kind of comes into it on, what are the kind of social acceptabilities on who and how, or like who we are going to accept as like the face of the United States going into competing, onto an international stage. And that was my client's point. He was like, she doesn't fit that bill. He's like, and I think that's why I think that's largely why they're upholding this weed rule, so that way they can not have her compete.
That's insane.
And it's frustrating because
absolutely, yeah.
Because there's a huge part of me that goes, you're probably fucking right.
Probably.
And that is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And saying that, like, they're going to have to uphold, to defend it not being a race card thing, they're going to have to uphold any marijuana pop at this point. Otherwise, it's like, we were right.
Yo, for sure. Right. So assuming that to be the case, you would, and that's a conversation that's being had.
Yeah.
Right. This racism talk, like conversation about this. Right. So you're hearing about it from like, not just her, some of the other athletes. They're talking about the soul caps, right, for the it was like the African American like swim caps.
I heard about that shit.
That they're not allowed in like the free Olympic rule.
Yeah.
Which I want to read a little bit more into that because I'm curious as to like what the rationale is. My guess is probably because it's sponsorship stuff. Like I'm assuming it's Speedo or something like that.
Right.
And so to have like external swimmer in, maybe I don't know actually how all that stuff works when it comes to like sponsorships of the Olympics, if that's a thing.
I think you have to. I mean, much like any big event, you have to pay to have your sponsorship. Like,
but are the Olympics sponsored? Like,
I mean, they always have like Rolex and shit sitting on the sides.
True.
And,
yeah, that's true.
Like McDonald's is always sponsoring them. So
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
I think they're.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I think they're very sponsored.
I can't remember. It's been a while since we've watched the Olympics.
Yeah, that's true too.
I can't remember.
No, but like you always see like Rolex is a huge sponsor of them.
Yeah.
Mercedes Benz. Trying to think of like all the other names that I've seen like in the stadium.
Like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like the fly like Emirates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. Okay. I'm back onto that. So from like the soul cap thing, I wonder, I want to know a little bit more as to like what the rationale is for not allowing that, if that is some sort of like a sponsored deal type of thing.
Yeah. Because I can't imagine to be a functionality kind of thing. Like it's not. I would imagine, right? If they're gonna use it in the Olympics, it's got to meet a specific standard.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I wonder, right? Because like, when the year with Michael Phelps when everyone had those like shark skin suits.
I think so.
Where so everybody was wearing those like full body suits that like essentially repelled water.
Yeah.
And like that was the same year that all of the records were broken.
Mm-hmm.
And then following that, those things got banned from competition.
No more.
Right. And so I remember that being a little bit of a debate of like, at what point does like athletic wear and the technology of athletic wear become like acceptable as like it gets better,
right,
for kind of enhancing human performance.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess from a spirit of the games, it's supposed to be raw in that sense.
And that, I mean, you got to look at it this way too, right? Like there may be, I guess I'm reaching at this point, but there are some countries that may not be able to afford that for their team, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then that makes it inaccessible or not accessible to everyone who's competing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a really, I think when we talk about a lot of these things, it's a very tricky subject because
it is.
We're kind of stuck. We're not stuck in a bubble, but we are coming from the lens of like we're a very wealthy country.
Yeah.
Compared, I mean,
on
the global scale.
I don't think we pay our Olympians to be
not even fucking
Olympians.
Close.
And
are you kidding me?
We make them pay for their own medals. So,
bro, it's not even. I was just talking about this today. So when I was going through my my USAW cert for the first time, we had one of the Olympic weightlifting coaches was coaching us, and then he had one of the female Olympic previous Olympic athletes, and then he had like 2 or 3 other athletes that were training underneath him from some Eastern Bloc country. And so this conversation came up because they were doing like a little Q&A kind of in between sessions, and someone was asking them, they're like, do you get paid? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, who pays you? And they're like, our country.
Yeah.
We are representatives of our country.
Yeah.
And he was like, you guys, and the guy that was talking, he was like, you guys are getting screwed, because he's like, you guys don't get paid.
Yep.
And right. And I remember reading something from, I forget her name, Lauren Gibbs, who's on the U.S. bobsled team. And she was talking about how the U.S. bobsled team, they like all live together. They like have to do fundraising like on their own to like help pay for them to be able to like do competitions. Yeah. And I hope to God I'm not misquoting her.
No, I think because we mentioned this we talked about this in another episode. It was like, yeah, how shitty we treat our Olympians.
Yeah. Right. There's no hope for them.
Nope.
It's crazy.
I am upset at the whole idea behind it. Especially those, you win your gold medal, but you got to pay for your own gold medal. It's like, Really?
You have to pay like taxes on it, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
That's
can't remember.
what it was. Yeah, they had to pay a percentage or a tax on it. It's just like, what? I won this for my country. You should be paying for it.
Yeah. Or just nobody pays for it.
or that too.
Just call it even.
Yeah. You're welcome, United States.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah, we definitely do not treat our Olympic. It's so fucked because we the way that like Olympic athletes will make any money is purely by brand deals post Olympics, assuming that they win, right, to a certain degree, right? I think like the U.S. women's soccer team is a little bit different. Was like a little bit, well, they won, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right, but like that was like, you know what? I don't even know where I'm going with that. Regardless, fuck yeah, women's soccer team crushing it.
Fuck yeah.
Men, get your shit together.
We only make it so far. The men's team.
Well, I remember what was it during the World Cup when they finished in the final eight or something like that.
Well, we lost. Well, the closest we got
16s?
is we lost to Italy in the semis, and it was very controversial.
Was that 26 or 2006? Was that when Italy won the World Cup?
I think so, but it was very, very. Oh wait, no, was it Italy or France? I think it was. Oh
no, I can't remember, but I don't think Italy played the U.S.
No, then it was France. There was a very controversial call. All I remember is like, I mean, people were happy that the U.S. lost, but I think during the calls they were like, wait, why? I think one or two U.S. players were ejected or red carded, and it was just like now they had to play like 8 on 11 for no reason or 9 on 11. It was like, wait, what? Yeah, it was bad. I was pissed that year.
I don't remember, but
yeah.
Other than the infamous headbutt.
Oh, Zinedine Zidane.
Zidane. God, that was such a good year. I remember watching that. Me, my friend Mick, and Esteban. So Mick, my friend Mick always picked like some random team. So I think if I remember correctly, that year he was rooting for Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, nice.
And then my friend Esteban was the Holland.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then I was Italy. Because I feel like at that point we were like the U.S. team's not going to do anything. So I think when Italy won the World Cup, they were like out in like the prelims or something like that.
I think we've only.
I can't remember what year it was.
I don't know that we've never made it past quarters. No, not quarters. Whatever, round robin.
What?
So there's a round robin, right? Like you play.
You mean like in the single elimination?
It's not in the single elims. So like so the qualifiers is like the round robin, and then it's quarters, then it's semis, and then it's finals. I don't think the U.S. has never made it out of qualifiers.
They finished 8th. So they made it into the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think the U.S. has never not made it to the quarters in recent years.
But in 1930, they came in third.
I'm
crushing it.
2006, we came in third, no?
2006, it came in 25th. They lost in the...
We lost in the quarters.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
That's right. Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure we finished top 10 at one point in time.
Yeah, multiple times.
Cool. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, big.
What was the keeper's name? That poor dude. I just saw my Facebook post the other day, and he recorded 19 saves. And I was like...
Brad Friedel?
I don't think it was him. But it was like, being a keeper, like being a former keeper, no goalie should have to make 19 saves in a game. That's ridiculous. That is a complete lack of effort on the rest of the team. That's a bald dude.
Tim Howard.
That's it. Love that dude.
Love him so much, I don't remember
Forgot his name. I knew he was bald. Come on.
It's fair.
And he was a keeper. And a keeper.
All right, anyway.
Back to smoking weed.
So, yeah, that was like my client's thoughts and one of my friend's thoughts about that.
And they're right. You know, they like it's hard to disprove that. It's hard to prove it, but it's hard to disprove it.
True, yeah. Right? There's too many aspects of it that make sense.
Yeah.
There you go. Shit. You're kind of like, damn it.
Yeah.
I hope that's not true.
I really hope it's not true, because then we look like pieces of shit.
I mean, it's hard, right? Like, I think here's the hard part. It probably is true. And I think it probably is true for a lot of reasons. And I think it's shocking to hear that for as many reasons, right? I think we want to believe that we still don't have these racist tendencies that exist around, like, in the United States, but we do. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of the way it is, right? Yeah, you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, I think it's also shocking, or it's also hard to think about too, because at the same time, like, at this moment, it's been going on for decades, but, you know, it's so in the forefront of a lot of people's minds and a lot of people's conversations about, like, the injustices within the United States.
Yeah.
And sports are no different in that regard for the same level of, like racism and prejudice and, like, segregation that exists within, that still permeate, you know, even though, like, the rules aren't there, there's still these, like, old fucks who still kind of believe in some of these things, and will, like, whether it's overt or not, are still acting in ways that kind of can what's the word that I want, unjustly affect people. Mm-hmm. I guess it's not the word that I want, but I guess it works in this situation. And we're still seeing these, like, permeations throughout, right? And we're still seeing these, like, not just within the sporting field, but, you know, everything else. Like,
right.
It exists within our world.
Yeah.
Not just the United States, but the world as a whole, right? And so it's, like, it's frustrating to think about it and frustrating to hear that, and, like, I want to say no, but at the same time, I also have to go, it's probably not wrong either.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, it might not be the sole reason,
right,
but it's probably an aspect of, which is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it's dumb.
Yeah.
And assuming that to be true, you know, using weed is a very easy escape away from that.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, you broke the rule.
Yeah, you broke the rule. You can't do it. You can't compete for your country, even though you're the best.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So there's too many. Yeah, like I said, right? There's too many things of, like, why would you not want the best person to be a part of it?
Yep.
Like, if you have the ability to let it happen, right? But, you know, and the other thing too, like, again, going into, like, why I think that's, you know, racism is an easy aspect as to why this might be the case too, is because apparently with that 1 month sanction, the sanction is up by the time her event would have happened in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So then U.S. Track and Field had the option to be able to
put
the
4x, right?
To be able to put her on the team to be able to compete, but they didn't.
Yeah, they went a different route.
So and here's the other part, right? There's trying to argue, like, think from the other side. I can only imagine, like, what, like, the amount of pressure that these people are going on from, like, the U.S. Track and Field team. I have no idea who makes these decisions, like the coaches that are involved, whatever the case may be. So whatever pressures they're under, I can only imagine, like, how stressful that would be.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not to, you know, these things don't exist in, like, a one or the other, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, the stress of her and all of the, like, what's going on with her, like, Sha'Carri. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Good. Fuck yeah. Sha'Carri. So Sha'Carri, like, not to,
I should have fucked with you and said it's Sha'Carri.
Not to disregard the stresses of her, right? But these things aren't mutually exclusive. So, like, but with all that being said, like, I can't understand. You know, I don't have all the answers, so it makes it hard for me to comprehend what the rationale would be of not wanting her to be on the team, given that, like, a lot of people are pretty much, like, you know, from the people side. Like, just from the social side, people are like, let her fucking compete.
Yeah.
There's a technicality that exists within this that allows her to compete.
Yeah.
Let her compete.
Yeah.
Right. So you have, like, the social element. Then you also have the fucking performance element too, where she performed the best So like, why wouldn't you want her to be a part of that goddamn team?
Right.
So there's all of these, like, for me, I've been rambling a lot, so cut me off at any point in time. But for me, there's so many of these like points that I'm just like, this is where I'm so torn, because I like, there's all these elements of like, there seems to be fuckery afoot. But then the other part too, it's like, them's the rules.
Yeah.
So you kind of fucked it. You fucked that one up too.
Well, and that, you know, I commend her for taking this in stride and not pulling that card, right? Because there's no way she could prove it. So she's not outright saying person A is a racist, doesn't like the way I look, won't let me compete. You know, that would incite so much rage, right? And, you know, they're being a professional, you can't do that if you don't have the evidence.
You totally can.
You could, right? You could if the idea was to incite rage.
True.
Right? But being a professional athlete, you want to be able to prove, aside from athleticism alone, because she proved that, but you want to prove that, like, hey, I still deserve to go. There's a technicality where I compete in the 4x1. Like, okay, I sacrifice my 100. I take that on the chin. That's on me. But I can still compete in the other event where my sanction's up.
It's hard because it's a lose-lose situation for her.
Yeah.
Right? So there's the loss of, okay, she took it on the chin, did it in a, you know, the professional manner, right? And be like, hey, I messed up. I'm a human. I'll take the punishment because I broke the rules.
Yeah.
Right. But then people are like, but that's not fair. Right. So why aren't you fighting more for it? Then if she were to be up in arms about it, then the optics then turn into, well, why are you so upset about it? Yeah. Like, are you trying to hide the fact that you broke the rules, or do you think the rules don't matter?
Right. See, it would get flipped. I feel like that would be the flip of it, and
for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So, or if she were, you know, or if somebody were to like call the racism card. I don't even want to. That sounds so bad to say that,
but that's what it would be,
to call out racism. Yeah. Then it goes into right, and then it gets flipped again, right? Yeah. Where it's like, well, you can't prove that. Like, you're just mad because you got caught smoking weed.
Yeah.
Like I feel like with,
you're right. It is a lose-lose
with most athletes in any regard. Like, it's just a loss. Like, there's no good way. I feel like there's not a good way to do it. And the best, and like the shitty part is, I feel like the best way is the way that she did it, which is just to be like, take it and call it a day.
Yeah.
Don't cause a ruckus.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I kind of want her to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want her to be like, I don't want her to feel like, you know, I don't feel like she has to become like the martyr, like this is the hill that she needs to die on for smoking weed.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I want, like, I would want, hopefully what I hope out of this is that this will change. This will be the watershed moment. Is that the term? For to really have the conversation move in a way that, you know, to potentially lessen the rulings for
the severity of the punishment.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, a month is a pretty sweet, like, it's a pretty lenient penalty.
Yeah.
Downfall, which actually maybe even not, because it put her out of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which comes every 4 years.
Yeah.
So like, that
sucks.
It kind of fucked her no matter what.
That fucking sucks. Yeah.
Right. If anything, I almost feel like that's a little bit of a slap in the face to be like, we're gonna give you a month suspension.
Yeah. The month before your competition.
Which is right before your competition.
I think that's what's fucked up more, is like, they should have let her compete and then suspended her, or announced it like probably sooner instead of waiting timely to your specific event.
It's true too. You know, from a testing standpoint.
Like, I feel like they could have fought this as a team, or as an Olympic team. They could have put a sanction or an injunction on it, and being like, hey, like, let's do a little more research into this. Like, when did she use it? She wasn't in the training season, you know, like, but to push the suspension so that she could compete, and then be like, all right, we found the blah, 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 blah. You know, you are suspended for 1 month post your competition.
Yeah, the hard part with that is, like, a suspension post doesn't do anything, Right.
Tell me about it.
But then the issue then I feel like that can come from that is then we look at that opens the door for then other people.
What about fines?
Yeah, I'm surprised a fine wasn't the
Right?
thing.
I feel like a fine would be a little more appropriate than a 1 month suspension 1 month prior to the Olympics.
Yeah, but then again, it's also yes. I feel like a fine would be more appropriate.
Again, this is still something that we hope that the conversation turns to. Like, there's nothing we can do about it now.
True, but again, the other part is this is the IOC. This isn't the U.S. making the claim, right?
Right.
The USADA is following the rulings of what the IOC stands, and then again, we have to look at this from an international scale. Does it like it sucks, and it sucks when we feel it the hardest because it's a U.S. athlete.
Yeah.
But somebody from like Norway probably doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're just like, oops.
They're like, well,
they're probably like,
I don't got to compete against her now.
yeah, like, oh, one of the best in the world just got taken out of competition. Sucks for her. I feel bad, but like also kind of there's
I only have to be 2 body lengths.
yeah, they're definitely kind of sitting there like, whew,
Yeah.
dodged a bullet.
No, for sure. Everyone else out there is like, thank God.
Right, to a certain degree.
Yeah. They're probably like, that sucks, but thank God.
Yeah. So, and if anyone's thinking about it and they're like, no, rightful athlete is thinking that, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because
you're
definitely
fooling
are.
yourself.
You're fooling yourself.
If you've ever competed, to our CrossFitters, if you've ever competed and you found out that somebody, the top dog, is not showing up, you're probably like, thank God.
There's a chance.
Yeah. That's how Noah felt this year, or is feeling this year.
That's how everybody at the games this year
Everyone's
is feeling.
this year.
They're
Is like,
Fraser's not in.
Matt's not here.
There's a
Thank
chance.
God.
The door is open.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, don't lie to yourself.
But I think the hard part is we have to look at it from an international setting.
Agreed.
And so looking at any adjustments to rules to, feel it's just like to help somebody from the United States that feels that they got a poor shake, then that goes to everywhere else in the world, that then she becomes the person that gets referred to as like, well, you let it happen with this person.
Yeah.
Why not me?
Right.
Right. And then, and so that opens up the door for so many other like arguments to be made of like favoritism and, et cetera from, more wealthy countries, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is already a thing that exists. So it's so complex.
Multiple conversations need to be had.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So I hope that, again, it seems like she took it in stride, which I hope this whole situation blows over for her and doesn't lose her spirit in competition, and continues to train and continues to like fucking crush.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can like see her compete on like the grand scale at some point in time.
She's only 21.
I know.
She's only 21.
Like, and if Usain Bolt has anything to be said about like,
Jesus,
she's got time to continue to just destroy.
Continue breaking records and racing souls.
Racing soul.
Yeah.
More like e-racing.
E-racing.
So that's, yeah. You have any like final thoughts on that?
We touched it. We don't agree necessarily, but it is, we're split. It's in the rules. Like, if it's in the rules, I'm not gonna break them if I want to compete.
Yeah,
that sucks because we're number one, and we want to stay number one.
America is number one.
But yeah, that's all I got, man. We touched everything I wanted to talk about.
Cool. All right. Eric, where can people find us?
People can find us on our Instagram at Another Rep Podcast. Nope. You can't find us there because I don't have that handle. It's Another Rep Podcast. And Another Rep Podcast at gmail.com. That handle we do have.
And you can call us on our line, which is 530 podcast, and leave us a text or a voicemail.
Did you know our area code is in Northern California, specifically the Sacramento Valley?
Sure.
I didn't know that. Is that where Google's located?
I don't
know.
Oh. You can pick the area code.
Why would you put 530?
Because it was the first one that popped up. I tried podcast, and that was the first one.
Oh, that was the only one that you get podcast in?
Yeah,
that sucks.
Because I honestly tried 312 and I couldn't get that.
You mean 213?
No,
bro, we're not 312.
312 is Chicago.
I know we're not in Chicago.
I don't care.
Oh my god.
You should have made the phone number then.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, the Greater Los Angeles area code didn't show up either.
That's insane.
That was literally the only one that I can find. Apparently.
Well, in case you didn't know, we're not located in NorCal.
We're located in Central Cal.
Nope.
East Cal.
Nope.
Northeast, southwest.
Yes.
California.
Yes. We're there.
Roughly in that direction, in those cardinal coordinates.
Yes. We're on the 4 planes.
And you can also find us and listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts.
And YouTube.
And the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So enjoy that one. Okay, bye.
Bye.